Gerald Knaus, who is the chairman of the European Stability Initiative. Gerald, thanks for joining us on the programme. 14 years after it declared independence, what are your thoughts about what has been achieved and what hasn't with regards to Kosovo?
Well, good evening. First of all, the most important thing, of course, is that we have now had peace in the Balkans for more than 20 years. We have multi-ethnic democracies that have one common goal, an aspiration to join the European Union, the biggest market in the world, the club of democracies. And if this aspiration would be realized for the countries of the Western Balkans, then, of course, the borders between those countries would become as invisible as they have become inside the European Union. So the big question today is, these countries, Serbia, Kosovo, and its neighbors, are still stuck. Is this prospect of them joining the European Union in the near future realistic or not? And if it's not realistic, then there is a new question, because then a lot of the conflicts in the past about borders, which will not become invisible, might be revived, and nationalist projects might return to the agenda.
I mean, there has been suggestions that corruption in both government and private sector in Kosovo remains one of the major stumbling blocks to foreign investment and EU membership. Do you think enough is being done to tackle the perception of endemic, or to tackle corruption, because there is a perception there, and also concerns about human rights abuses?
Well, I mean, when it comes to corruption, yes, clearly there are a lot of reports, indications by respected NGOs that corruption is a problem, not only in Kosovo, but also in EU member states, not only in Southeast Europe, but throughout Europe. And so this is a question that has to be tackled. The key is to have strong institutions. And one way to strengthen the institutions is, of course, the EU accession process itself, because it requires changing your rules on public spending, on controls, on procurement. So corruption will exist in every society. The question is, are there strong institutions to fight it, and how do you build them? When it comes to human rights, it is really interesting that, for example, inter-ethnic relations in Kosovo in the last decade and more have been astonishingly good, given the brutality of the repression of the past and the war in '99. Kosovo is a multi-ethnic country. Serb, the language of the Serbian minority, is an official language in Kosovo. And so I think there is a prospect that if the people of the region, of these different countries, have a common goal and see this goal as realistic, that the human rights situation and the fight against corruption will actually see further progress.
OK, so it could be a catalyst for change, and yet relations with neighbours Serbia and Bosnia-Herzegovina are far from normalised, and getting Kosovo fully engaged and integrated in this region is a work in progress. And then also you have Russia, China and 5 EU members who don't recognise Kosovo's statehood, and there isn't really a sign yet of any change in their attitude. So these are major stumbling blocks.
Yes, clearly. And if I say that I think it is clear what path would lead to progress, one should also say that at the moment this progress looks blocked. It is not only that Kosovo has been recognized only by 22 of 27 EU members. It's also that Serbia's accession to the European Union is stuck. There hasn't really been much progress. A lot of people throughout the Balkans no longer believe in this goal. And there has then, as a result, been a return of very dangerous debates of reshaping, redrawing the borders, trying to draw ethnic borders, trying to exchange territory based on ethnicity. And these ideas have always in the past been dangerous, have led to conflict. So to say that the European Union is a hope for stability in the region isn't really reassuring at a moment when the European Union is not very credible in the region. And that is a danger, and one can only hope that the leaders in the Balkans and leaders in Europe above all find a way to restore credibility to this process, because otherwise, as you've said, there are players outside of the region with tensions in Eastern Europe growing that might have an interest in exploiting nationalism, as we have seen in the past, with potentially devastating consequences. We are not there. At the moment, things are stable. At the moment, majorities in all these countries would prefer to join the European Union and live the same prosperous and stable life of other Europeans. But one can't be taken for granted, and one should certainly not be complacent at this moment.
OK, Gerald, thank you. Gerald Knaus, their chairman of the European Stability Initiative. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.